Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody's early today.
And awake.
All right. So always a point of curiosity. Was there a topic discussed yesterday?
Well, briefly, Heiner was on for about 10 or 15 minutes and mentioned, I'll give you his name in a second. Mentioned a guy named Ian McGilchrist, a British psychiatrist who wrote a book called The Master and His Emissary, and he wanted to explore that material, but not yesterday because he didn't have much time and nobody else was on. Actually, Kayla turned on her, she didn't turn on her camera. She was out walking the dogs, but she didn't turn on her camera, and she was only on for about a few minutes. So really, there wasn't much of anything yesterday.
All right. Well, next week I'm back on Saturday. We'll see if I do manage to stay awake.
Yeah, well, maybe you're a more entertaining host than me, but I couldn't seem to keep anybody engaged for more than 5 or 10 minutes.
You really want to sip on this? Can you at least take your mind?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
What is that you're pointing at?
Pharma's making a lot of money off me. It's my morning metformin and vitamins.
Oh, okay.
How do you know when you're getting older? When you're spending more money on the medicine and vitamins than your food.
And
I
you
don't,
can't
it's
eat,
not hit that part yet.
and you can't pee and you can't get it up. That's the other reason.
Actually, for Lucifer, my 15-year-old cat, it's pretty close to that. He has to go to the vet. He has to get special diet. He's got to get special medication. He's got to get special grooming. He needs more frequent checkups. Oh, man. But he's 15, almost 15 and a half now.
That's old for a cat.
And he's so affectionate now. He's really affectionate with every living being in the house. The 3 dogs, the other cat, the 2 humans, very affectionate. But the vet did confirm he's like 99 or maybe even 100% blind.
Ooh.
Wow.
He managed to feel his way around the house. So it's part of that, hey, for humans, I always remember this stat. 50% of all medical care is in the last 6 months of life. I think that applies perhaps to pets as well.
Probably.
Yep.
End of life care.
Well, I do recall a topic that we were skirting around last week. And I was wondering whether you guys were wanting to continue that or do something else.
That was the free will topic?
It was derived from free will. I think we spent a lot of time on free will, but there was a question I asked right at the end about free will, and that is that not so much a question, it was more a statement that some people have better choices than others. And so that was one thing that affects whether we have free will and how people talk about free will.
Right. Do you have any options? Are all your good options eliminated by outside forces?
Right. And the triggering word there is privilege. Privilege allows one to have better choices.
Yep.
But some people don't like that. They don't like hearing that.
Which is why people like to have power. Power gives you options.
It's a complicated subject. So a couple of things. Why is it important to me about the free will and not all that? It's because it's the fundamental, I call it the building block of your decision making and your lifestyle and what have you. So that's one aspect of it. The other one is I really love the elbow room book, and I took the time to summarize it. Thank you so much, Barry, about introducing that book to me. So yes, it's like sort of like you're in the driving on the highway, you are on your lane, or when there's no traffic or when there's traffic, your elbow room is about how far can you move to the left and move to the right. So that's your elbow room, but you're stuck with the traffic in that traffic highway. So the
You can't
privilege,
go up.
right? And I want to go comment about a privilege. Privilege could be a blessing, it could be a curse, depending on if you know how to make use of it. So to me, it's about the privilege of having the wisdom to make use of whatever it is. So this is what I teach in Mastermind, and if you remember this, is that everything that give, if you know how to make use of it. So I measure your success about how many things, what the rate of your ratings, whatever the situation you're in, is a gift or not. So it's a privilege, is a one of the subset of a gift, what I call the set. Meaning, so if you're born in a rich family and you never get a chance to experience the poor life, when you see poor life, it's like, I want that. I never had that before. I was always protected, bodyguard around me. I can't have freedom and all that stuff. Whereas the people that in the poor family, they have the freedom. So again, it's about be able to see the gift, be able to make use of the gift, be able to leverage the gift. Is to me that's more important than anything else. I'm complete.
There's a famous paradox of the more options you have, the harder it is to make a decision, to the point where you can't make a decision at all because you can't process so
Yep.
many options.
Yep.
Sam, what we see is your forehead. Is that on purpose? Because you're eating.
None of it is photogenic. You're not missing anything.
You're not winning any beauty contest today, huh? Or hot dog eating contests.
I'll have to stand up and adjust the camera.
I thought maybe it's because you were eating.
I was putting my head in my palms and my elbows on the table.
Oh, you're tired.
So the question is, was that free will?
That's your elbow room.
I have a
Your
little
chin
bit of
room.
elbow room right here on the desk. That's
Yeah,
right.
your chin room. Yeah. So there was a famous scene in, I can't remember what action movie it was, but the hero is in a bind, and as the camera pans out, he's in a helicopter going up. So he has an option to get out of the bind by going vertically. And of course, if you're driving on your highway, you don't have the option of vertical motion. And that's the point of knowledge. Knowledge of options is crucial, because if you don't know of an option that's available but you're unfamiliar with it, you can't elect it. You can only elect something you know about.
I think even better than that, if you have some amount of knowledge, you can create options that you otherwise would not have known and made available to yourself.
Yeah, creativity is sort of it's a byproduct. The more knowledge you have, the easier it is to be creative.
And I want to just check if the origin of the word knowledge is that you know the edge, to the edge.
Right. You know that if you're on a plane, there's a normal exit.
Yeah.
The
And
normal thing to do.
Yeah. And then like what you're saying earlier a few minutes ago, Barry, is about if you know too much, you're paradise.
Right. Paralyzed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The paradox of paralyzation from having too many options to reckon. Analysis paralysis, they used to call it.
That's right.
And I've been there where, the decision maker can't make a decision because he's waiting for all his subordinates to finish their analyses, which take forever. I'll
go on a small digression. If you've read the Dune series of books, there's a character called Alia, A-L-I-A, who is the brother of Paul Muad'Dib, who is the end point of this genetic manipulation line that goes back thousands of years. But through some event of her mother's, during birth, Alia is granted all the memories of her mother and all of her predecessors.
Oh, omniscience.
And that was called a curse.
Yeah, right.
She was cursed because she didn't have this gradual evolution and acquisition of knowledge and memory. She just bam, had it all at birth. In fact, no, not the curse. She was called the abomination. That's how she is referred to in the book, the abomination.
Yeah. Was it Feynman or Sagan who wrote a book with the subtitle, The Pleasure of Finding Things Out? If you already know things, then the pleasure of finding out things you didn't already know is not available.
No, there's always new things to find out.
Well, but the more things you already know, the smaller is the remaining knowledge that's on your frontier. That no,
The larger, the
you think
larger.
it's the other way around?
Because the edge of knowledge, if you think of it as a surface, that's expanding.
That's true, but also the amount of time to spend on each parsec, or what's the term for the area surface? I forget the term. Anyhow, you got way too much surface to explore, and you had not enough time to do all the exploration. And most of them, of course, don't pan out. Most of them are blind alleys, dead ends.
I think of this way. Think of like a fish. You only see the head, you don't see the body. You're missing a whole thing, right? So in the causation theory of the something has the cost of something like the karma or the reason. Something happened and then the result will be this. If you know all the result of all the tests, all the exam, you don't really learn anything because you just know the result. So when you have all the money in the world given to you instead of you hard earn it, you have no way to sustain that because you know the causation of the body of the fish is not there with you, you know. So it's like that's how I think about it. I don't know how to explain it, but my point is that you need to have I don't care about somebody give me all the memory for the last 20,000 generation. It doesn't matter to me. But you need to give me the package. You don't give me the tail. Don't give me the head. Give me the whole fish. Then I can handle that because I have the whole story behind it. I have the see the how it causes this to happen and all that stuff. So
The
does it make
fish
sense?
rots from the head down. But the other thing is that it's easier to imagine something that you don't have time to experiment with. And so you end up writing stories of the imagination instead of doing the actual research experiments. And you get a lot of stories that are all fantasy, fiction, imagination. But if you try to realize them, they're science fiction. You couldn't reduce them to practice. So you get time travel and all kinds of imaginable things which turn out to be impractical, unrealistic, or too expensive.
For example, I see Josh has a beautiful, clear, high resolution picture and all that stuff. I appreciate that because I see the pain. I went through the pain of not having that for a long time because I see that result. And I appreciate the result a lot more than when for the first time, I just meet you and see you that I don't appreciate it as much as I appreciate the time that you go through to get there. So to me, that's really more important than anything else.
Yeah, and now I'm checking to see if the leaves are fluttering and if the clouds are moving, and so far they're not. So more likely than not, that's a fake picture. Oh, wait a minute! I just saw I saw a car go by. Aha! It's real. It's a windless day. It's a windless day, but there's a car going by. That means
Yep.
you don't normally have roads where you are, so you're someplace else.
Yep. Good deduction.
Yeah.
I'm traveling. Yep.
Yeah, the car.
That's why I wasn't able to
the
make it
giveaway.
yesterday.
Yeah, there's a bus
Yeah.
going by. Yeah, all right. So you're
Yeah.
just off the road someplace in a park or something.
I'm right next to the University of California, San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing how windless it is because there's hardly any motion of the leaves or the clouds are too obscure to tell if they're moving. But that proves the fact that you can pan. It is a park. There's a, oh yeah,
The resident area.
yeah.
I'm in La Jolla, California, so just north of the city of San Diego.
Yeah, it's a
Wait.
beautiful La Jolla. Yeah, I love that place.
Was it Salk who was from La Jolla? Somebody famous is from La Jolla. Is the Salk Institute located there?
I don't know. I have to look that up.
There's something like that that's famous.
There's it's a very big medical place. That's why we're here.
Alicia
okay.
Keys lives in La Jolla.
Really?
I thought she was from New York. I didn't know she was from La Jolla.
That's what Alexa is telling me right now.
Does it say that the Salk Institute is there? Now that background for Sam is fake, that's for sure. I don't even know what it is. What is that? That's like smoke or something. Can't quite
Oh,
tell.
very cool. I like that one.
Nice.
So another triggering story. When I was a freshman, in my very first dorm experience, my roommate was somebody, flute player from La Jolla. And I was assigned that roommate because I played violin, he played flute. Everybody thought we'd get along with each other. Well, the other thing they didn't tell me was he was actually the source of all the marijuana weed for like that entire half of campus.
Holy shamoly.
So every night, like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, lights will flip on, 3 or 4 people would come in, they sit on my bed, even if I was sleeping, they'd be laughing and drinking and doing deals. I could never get to sleep. Very unpleasant experience.
Did you report him or not?
Yes, I did. It took another entire quarter. They wouldn't even change anything right away. It took an entire quarter for them to reassign me to another roommate.
Yeah. Did he get busted?
That person had privilege.
Yeah. So meaning he did not get busted.
He didn't get busted.
He had green privilege. Yeah.
Talk about knowledge about beginning and end. A lot of the new generation doesn't have that. They have the privilege of having food on the table, but don't know how that was come from. They thought the pork, the beef, the chicken all come from a factory.
Doesn't it? It does here. In the US it does.
You know, they're now growing beef cells around grains of rice now.
You said they're not or they're now?
They are.
They
They're
are.
perfecting a mechanism that grows beef cells starting with a grain of rice.
You know,
That sounds healthy.
I can imagine that's practical with genetic modification. I can see you could do
I
that.
just read that yesterday.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So the beef is grow on the grain?
Yeah, but
They're
then,
used to-
you know, it's just used as the way to seed the growth of the beef itself. I haven't tried it, obviously. I'd love to see if it actually tastes like beef. But I thought it was curious. I never would have thought that the right place to start would be a grain of rice.
Well, you know, Nebraska had corn-fed beef, so rice-fed beef and corn-fed beef. You had corn in Nebraska. If they had rice, they probably would have had rice-fed beef in Nebraska.
I don't think it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, corn grows better in the Midwest than rice does.
Yeah, I'm saying what they're growing is some kind of amino acid that is a beef cell. But
they're
yeah,
growing beef protein. I mean, you know,
I don't know.
what's
that it
protein
has-
except a different amino acid sequence than rice, right? They're just
Yeah, but
cutting
I
up
think you have to create the cellular structure also. You know.
you have
Yeah.
well, you cut up the amino acids and you reassemble them to make beef cells.
I could soak some rice balls in fat and call it beef, but I don't think that's the same thing.
Yeah.
You can do it cheaper than what these guys are probably doing it for.
Yeah.
The Chinese lady who brought her item into the fix-it shop gave us a Chinese snack that was was cakes with chicken flavor with chicken floss. Have you ever heard of cakes flavored with chicken floss?
The floss that I think we're talking about is there's something called pork sung, which is a very long process of creating dry pulverized pork. And it's, you know, soy flavored, and you mix it in with congee, and it's actually a very good breakfast. And you can actually do the same thing with chicken as well. I think that's what they're talking about. So sometimes pork sung is referred to as pork floss. And then so chicken sung would be referred to as chicken floss. It's actually quite quite a tasty addition to a breakfast. And you can get one of these, I think 18 ounce, it's about a pound of floss. It's like $15 to $18 for one of these things.
You're talking about something like almost like cotton, like.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it said on the label. I imagine something like freeze-dried chicken protein would, no, it's not freeze-dried.
No, but it is very, very light. And it is very, very, it's like wisps of strands of very, very, yeah, it's almost like cotton candy, but not
Yeah.
quite so light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
It take a long time to make that. I'm not kidding you. Take a long time.
You're familiar with what I'm
I
talking
made
about, right, Sam?
Yeah, a lot of work. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
肉松. Yeah, it's we call that meat, loose meat. It's direct translation.
yeah. So anyhow, I've had cakes with chicken floss flavoring. They're
That's
good.
yummy. That's yummy. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
yummy.
they're perfectly good. I just never heard of it before. And I had to read the label 4 times before I really
Yeah.
appreciated what it was saying.
You,
Flavor
you
with chicken floss.
should try the pork version. The pork version tastes better.
Probably is tastier, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I can remember the brand name, Yangtze or some name like that. And they were good, but you know, but she had a box of them she gave us, and they're gone now. So
You have a chain called 99 Ranch in Boston.
no, the 99s it's called, just the 99s.
Is it an Asian restaurant? Asian?
No. This is a strictly, well, I would say, yeah, it's American / Italian, maybe.
That's not 99 Ranch then.
Yeah, no, it's not that. No, it's just called the 99s.
Do you have any Chinese grocery shop?
Not in my town, not in Bedford.
They do quite a bit in the Boston area.
Yeah, you'd have to go downtown or Chinatown or whatever. There is a Chinatown in Boston, but I don't know that I've ever been to Chinatown in Boston.
How far is the drive?
Well, downtown Boston, first of all, downtown Boston is only about a square mile in size. And it's about a 20-minute drive from the suburbs where I live. And I rarely have an occasion to go there. I used to go there to the Science Museum, which is right on the edge of Boston, Cambridge.
Is it convenient to get there on the subway or tube or whatever they call it?
Well, it's convenient. I mean, you can take the subway from Alewife Station. So you have to drive to Alewife and park your car in the big garage. Or you can just drive straight on Route 93. But then when you get there, you got to figure out what to do with your car. Science Museum had a parking garage. That wasn't an issue. And I had free parking because I was a volunteer. But boy, if you had to pay to park, one time I went to the Science Museum after I was a volunteer, it was $25 to park there for a few hours. Real ridiculous. So, but yeah, you can take the subway from Alewife, but then it's $13 to park at Alewife. So plus $5 for round trip for the T. So it's the same amount of money.
Yeah, I think what Sam was talking about is there's a chain of grocery stores that are mostly seafood, but it's Asian, like when you go into the supermarket in Stop and Shop, and they've got that one little end of the aisle with just a tiny bit. Imagine that's expanded to the whole store.
Right. Yeah.
That's 99 Ranch.
I mean, there are outlets that kind of, you know, go whole hog on exotic foods. What was the one? Oh, I can't remember the name of it. There's one in Boston that carries a lot of Asian and foreign food, ethnic foods. Can't remember.
I think because the Chinese that came to build the railroad expanded to so many different towns in California, and they built a lot of the towns. Even the town where I'm from, Santa Barbara, had the center of town was Chinatown in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of I I fell in love with 99 Ranch. I actually moved to San Diego to be close to a 99 Ranch and a Fry's. I strategically put myself next to Fry's Electronics and 99 Ranch.
I don't even know of any towns in California that have Chinese names as the town name. A lot of them have Spanish names.
Well, San Jose is a Chinese town.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Saint Joseph wasn't Chinese.
No, I know.
San
I'm
Jose-
joking, but
The San Jose actually is more like a Vietnamese town where we have the largest population of Vietnamese here. So yummy Chinese food. Anyway, I put the link for all the Chinese grocery shop in Boston. See, you recognize any of the names? Hong
think,
Kong supermarket, Super 88, Come on, Ranch. Oh, there's a Ranch 99 in Boston.
oh, there is.
Yep.
Yeah, I assume so because there is a lot of Asian community growing up in Boston. There was
Yeah.
large Asian.
Oh yeah,
community.
there's no shortage of Asian community, but they're not out in the northwest suburbs where I live.
Well, isn't the mayor of Boston Chinese right now?
Mayor Wu, I'm not sure exactly which ethnic she is, but her last name is Wu, W-U. Would that be Chinese?
Yep.
Could be.
It's one of the Asian surnames. I don't know which one.
Quincy. Where is Quincy? How far is Quincy from you?
Quincy is sort of diagonally opposite. It's the southeast, and I'm the northwest of
Okay.
Boston Center.
So this is this address, the 475 Hancock Street, Quincy.
Yeah, that would be like maybe 40 miles. It's diagonally opposite the metro area from where I am.
The furthest away from you.
Pretty much. I mean, the Cape is sort of also diagonally opposite. So going to the Cape, it's it's a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, I was in Boston Museum. One thing I will never ever forget about Boston is the underground transporter system. The subway has traffic lights.
Well, I mean, all railroads have traffic lights.
I mean, it's like the traffic light, like as if you're above the ground. It's like
Like above the ground. Well, I mean, the Green Line is partly above the ground, and once above the ground, they have to obey the regular street traffic lights on the streets.
But you see the green, the yellow, the red under the ground. It's like, oh wow, that's only one town that I know of that has that.
The Green Line is only a 2-car train. It's a short train, and there's lots of them as a result.
Right.
Because they're close together, and so they really need to know how close they are to the train in front of them to start to go slower or to wait. The other lines have 5, 6, 7, 8 cars, so they're more like 20 minutes apart. But the Green Line is typically 10 minutes apart. They can easily get bunched up if there's a delay in front of them.
Yeah. It works really well in the winter time where there's no snow underground.
Yeah. Because the Green Line is partly above ground, the trains can't be very long.
Yeah.
You think about trying to have a long train above ground, it's on busy streets, it just simply doesn't work.
Yeah.
Another little piece of trivia. I believe in Japan, they publish their train schedules not to the minute, but to the second.
Wow.
Sam, here is your reminder.
Sam's going to publish his reminders to the second publicly on the internet. Thank you, Sam.
They did start adding notifications, audio notifications in the subway stations. The next train is arriving in so many minutes. The next train is now arriving. For the longest time, you had no idea how long you were going to have to wait, but now they have an idea of how long is the wait to the next train, which in the Red Line is useful because,
Yeah, I'm curious. I have to get breakfast for these guys, and I'll keep the earphone on, but I won't be able to do the visual. But I'm curious if you guys saw the news this week of OpenAI releasing Sora, Sora. What are you guys' thoughts?
What is Sora?
It's a video, the same
Text
as
video.
Dolly.
Text
Text to
video.
video.
What kind of
But
video?
it's a
Text. You write some text and it create a video for you up to a minute.
Tags.
In other words,
THPS tags.
Text
the
to video, Barry.
Text
So in
to
other words,
video.
you tell
Oh,
it what
text.
to create as a video, and it'll produce it for you.
Okay, a text description. Okay.
Yeah, text to video. Yeah, creation. It's very real. You cannot tell the difference between the fake. If you put two side by side, you cannot tell the difference.
This is the ChatGPT 4, I presume.
Yep.
Yeah, the paid one.
I think it's them moving into 5. I think the idea is to be the best text to video. There's about 7 companies I've been following with their text to video, and they all pretty much suck. And I think this one still sucks, but compared to 1 year ago at this date, what the text to video was, the leap is incredible. So at the exponential curve, it's going up, but it's starting to get very vertical, like to the point where a year from now, if it's 10 times better than what it is now, that's going to be a game changer for all. I just talked to a friend that Netflix is moving to New Jersey, and the Hollywood industry is actually spreading out away from Hollywood. So it's going to be a huge change in the way that we tell stories 4 years from now of what can be created with a fraction of the cost. It's going to be a big deal for animators, for all types of movie makers. Yep.
For educators.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting
for Barry. Yeah.
Imagine sitting at Lincoln's feet as he gave the 7 years ago, speech, just looking at him in that environment. That's what kids will be able to experience.
The southern half of New Jersey is pine barrens, so I think the land is very cheap in the southern half of New Jersey, but not in the northern half. The northern half is very dense.
Yeah, it's kind of full circle because the whole industry was built in New Jersey for filmmaking. So it's
well, yeah, Edison's lab was in New Jersey.
Yep, exactly.
So the telephone and Edison, and a lot of that stuff took place in New Jersey.
Josh, the thing that drives me absolutely crazy is that when you try to create a picture with text in it, I have not found any software that does a good job yet. All the text all come out gibberish. It's in the wrong letters.
The new Stable Diffusion is doing better job with text.
Oh,
the new,
I don't know why
one
this
that
is.
came out.
Text to me is the simplest of all. It's like you create a picture and then you put a text on top of it. Like, how hard could that be?
I think it's the transformers are not geared towards that. The Adobe company making some that were better, but Stable Diffusion did more training for the text. They just didn't put the training transformers in there.
Yeah, last night I was creating some mind map. I wanted to create some mind maps. Like, man, all the text coming out of mind map was gibberish. It's like, what the hell?
Well, if you think about vector art, I don't know if you do any graphic design.
I Illustrator, vector art. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different way that they're doing the edge detection for vector based, as opposed to just a picture that is not vectorized, not rasterized. And
Along the same line of AI evolution, I started to play with it last night. Create my own custom GPT that you can use it now. I created 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I work with this company out of San Luis Obispo, California. They're called Elegant Themes, and they've been creating a web builder for probably the last 12 years. It's one of the leading web builders in the industry, but the speed of the controls on the browser are very slow. So they've spent the last 2 years speeding up the way that your mouse goes over the interface. But they're trying to add AI into it, so they must be licensing ChatGPT or something in the back end, and which I think is kind of stupid. But someone will be focusing on the code itself, meaning that the name of the software is called Divi for div tags. So the code of the CSS, once that gets programmed into transformers, I think it's going to be very, very good in terms of design. Once they get what you're looking for is the illustration aspect of fonts and text.
Yeah.
It'll be able to do some really advanced CSS with these like Copilot and those type of things.
Yeah.
But I can obviously HTML is very simple, but overlaying all these div tags and cascading style sheets on top of that to change the effect and the movement without you know, the font sizes is the problem and which
Right.
screen you're using. So dynamic design is something that has eluded a lot of people in web development. Is it looks great on the computer, looks great on a television screen, but on a little tiny iPhone, not so much. So screen real estate and CSS, I think that like the vector aspect of design is gonna just
Right.
blow people's minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of, like someone that have the computer infrastructure system knows know how to use this graphical interface. Two different knowledge that you need to learn, So the people that know the whole shebang all the way to the assembly language is much more prepared for the newer technology because everything that all the graphical interface can change so quickly that you have no idea. But if you know the computer infrastructure, the assembly language, you know exactly what they are doing. So it's sort of like you can see the cell of the protein instead of seeing the meat.
Yeah, I've been working on this since the 90s, is the ability to change the design itself dynamically, just the way ASP, like active server pages.
Right.
You can pick colors and patterns, but to make waves and really intricate designs change, it's very hard in CSS.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so I believe that maybe I would just venture to say 3 years from now, when you go to a website, it'll ask you how you want the UX UI.
Right.
And then from that point on, it'll give you a cookie or something, and you'll be able to see the information in whatever way you want to visually see it. It's more
Right.
personalized. It's going to be very interesting to have websites be personalized for one person. So you go to the website and you're showing someone the interface, and then I go to the website, it's a totally different website, but it's the
Right.
same content.
Right.
It's good. I'm just saying the personalization, if you look at it just in terms of the way we're receiving the information, it's gonna, if you abstract that out to everything from your clothes to your car, like the Tesla, you get in the Tesla, it is geared one way, but when your wife gets in the Tesla, it's another way.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think that's
fine.
going to be the big shift in everything in society, is the customization and personalization of the transformers of the AI, being able to do it so quickly. And manufacturing will have to come up to speed with that as well, because they'll have to be able to make motorized, not just Internet of Things, but dynamic Internet of Things for, personalization. I think is going to be huge. Sorry, I'm just ranting. I've been up since 5 a.m. Sorry, a little overcaffeinated.
Talking about personalization, I know most of you guys aren't on Facebook very much anymore, if at all, but Facebook will interpose into your news feed things that are suggested for you, and they're usually ads or usually sponsored things. And if you're on a day where there's almost no traffic from your own friends, you get a lot of this material that is introduced not from your friends, but from Facebook's own algorithms. Almost all the suggested for you content, and some days it's half of my content, is cheesecake photos. So this morning I wrote a post saying, is it just my imagination, or is Facebook transforming itself into a cheesecake tabloid?
You mean literally cheesecake, or cheesecake as a word?
Cheesecake is an American idiom for comely lasses in scantily clad, revealing photos.
Oh, okay.
And some days, half of my news feed is cheesecake.
Somebody's paying for it.
They say sponsored.
Yeah, somebody's paying for it so that you are the target audience.
Right. And I suspect it's, they're not just targeting me, they're probably targeting a lot of people since it's sponsored. But boy, I tell you, it's really turning into a cheesecake tabloid.
Yeah.
But they know a lot about you, Barry. They know you're living alone. They know you're not married. They know you don't have kids. They know you have some time on your hands. They know a lot about you, actually. So all of those are filter criteria for how they
Yeah.
target these ads.
Anyhow,
I'm thinking from a different perspective. I'm thinking about, Facebook is milking the advertiser, the person, the sponsor. Like, okay, see, I can give you the 50,000 viewpoint and for $50,000 or whatever that, and that would be you are a good, should I say, a consumer that consume the cheesecake pictures, so that Facebook can justify collecting money from the sponsor.
Yep.
yeah. I'm sure it's all about money making. But I tell you, it's a far cry from what we all envisioned social networking sites were going to be like 15 years ago.
Well,
Well,
go ahead.
the most important thing is this: if you got 3 people using Facebook, it's easy to manage because the current technology allow it. But when you get 3 million people to use the Facebook and you want to worry about privacy law and all that security thing, it's how many PhDs, employee you need to have, so that you have to create your own database structure, you have to create a new technology that it was never there before.
Yeah.
So those are the cost, exponential growth of the cost as it goes up and get more and more difficult, and those need to be financed.
One thing that I've determined is that if you happen to click like or post a comment on a cheesecake post that's sponsored, you will then get a solicitation to go to a
Yep.
website, which
Yep.
is what's the word I'm looking for? Solicitation website.
Yeah. And that's what they get paid for, and that's the reward.
Right. It's a solicitation for people who are in the market for more than just cheesecake.
Yep. Go ahead, Sam.
I get a similar thing, but with real estate. I've been getting lots of real estate ads. We represent a group of investors who want to buy your property for cash,
Yeah.
and I get several of these a day, if not, dozens per week. So I've made a point now to respond and click on these to cost them that hit. But I always say, X million or leave me alone.
Yeah. Duckless farm.
Huh?
Your duckless farm.
Right. So they get a lead. They say, oh, somebody actually responded. They took the action to respond to this link. But I'm just trying to get them to just realize this is not an effective filtering mechanism.
Yeah.
At one time, there was a lot of Indian people. You remember, you on your own Facebook for the company, you get so many likes, then you get 50,000 likes or 100,000 likes. Every like you have to pay, right? So what happened is that they will hire people. They have automated software, think of it like robots that will click all the likes for you, and with bogus name and bogus user.
That's right. In fact, I was representing our company with a very, very, very large company that had, tens of thousands of contact center agents, and they could see fraud along, huge practice, because they have millions of hits per day, and it's just astronomical. So it's easy to spot those trends, and then easy to track those IPs, and then even the response time of how quickly these things get submitted. So yeah, we had to deal with that too in the customer engagement space and be able to tell what's fraud and what's not.
And Facebook have to deal with this so that the sponsor doesn't get robbed. I mean, you can rob a sponsor so easily. Like, spending $50,000, it's gone in 5 minutes. Like, what do you mean?
Yep.
If you don't call that rob, what the hell you call that?
Scam, spam, puffery, I don't know.
So if I might loop this back to one of the questions I asked earlier, you hear about these people that are self-made, quote unquote, men, people like Elon Musk,
Yeah.
people like Donald Trump,
Yeah.
people who supposedly made it. because capitalism is such a great system.
Yep.
And I say
Horse dookie.
expletive, expletive. That's what I mean when I say some people have better choices than others.
Yeah.
And
They
that
got
is
they got the money from their parents. You know, both of them got their money from their father. The two
and
you
then
mentioned.
Taylor Swift is in that category as well. So is Bill
Yeah.
Gates.
But she's got real talent. She's got genuine talent.
She's got an appeal to a large population.
Yeah, I mean, she's getting
She's
these
definitely
huge
kickstarted by her
turnouts. And she gives away a ton of money too. She's a good role model. She's got talent, and she gives away a lot of money to people who are less well off, unlike Musk and Bezos.
Well, you brought up Taylor. She had been very careful, just trying to stay impartial, right? She'd always just said, "Hey, go out and register to vote." As of yesterday or the day before, I think she's actually come out explicitly against Trump.
Oh yeah, she's been against Trump, either publicly or quietly for a long time. But it's
I'd like to find the
not
first
a-
reference because I'm not aware that she has been.
it's hard to find the first because it kind of ramps up slowly over time. I'm not sure if you can find the first anti-Trump reference. But I even saw a YouTube video. Supposedly, the two are meeting. That she and Trump are meeting in court, but in fact, the whole video is made up. They're not meeting in court.
Deep fake. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna get worse.
Why would there be a need to do that?
Because they're what's the word I'm looking? Casting shade on each other. Is that the polite term?
It's probably one directional.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but
He's got plenty of other court appearances he has to deal with.
he's got
Let's celebrate. Didn't it just happen this week?
yeah.
That what 300 and whatever million,
355 million, and if you add the
million,
interest,
plus the
it's
5 million, plus more to
Right.
come. So
And he can't. And he
I
can't.
just
He
hope
can't
misses the day.
appeal. He can't appeal without actually putting up the money, and he's not going to be able to get any bondsman to put up the money. So he's going to have to put up real money, which I don't know where the hell he's going to get it from.
You see the golden sneakers just for $3.99.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, fake shoes, designer shoes for $300. He's trying to
$3.99.
make money. He's trying to make money off
$400.
of this.
How much do you think it costs to make one of those sneakers?
About $15,
Maybe less.
maybe less. Probably come from China. They're made in China.
So it's not done yet, but it's at least a minor step in the right direction. So
But he's going to delay it as
hoping
long
the
as he
wheels
can.
of justice turn well.
He's gonna run out the clock as long as he can. And of course, if he doesn't get on the ballot or if he doesn't get elected in November, then there's no reason to run out the clock anymore. The only reason to run out the clock is if he can get himself elected, then he can basically turn off a lot of these cases with his political power. Except the New York ones he can't turn off. State ones he can't turn off, just the federal ones.
I mean, are you going to stay in this country if he gets elected? I would give serious consideration going somewhere else if he gets elected.
I considered that possibility back when George W. Bush got elected, which was what, 20 years ago now, something like that. The thing is that at age 79, it doesn't make any sense anymore. I mean, I could go to New Zealand or Costa Rica, but at age 79, what's the point? I mean, my life expectancy is 10 to 15 years at this point.
That's what you think.
Well, that's based on actuarial science.
You sure?
Taking into account recent advances in medicine.
Well, I mean, partly because I think my grandfather lived to 89. Neither of my parents made it to 89. One grandfather made it to 89, and one aunt made it to 100. But of course, that's the previous generation, Sam.
So I'd like to share some personal good news. May I?
Yeah, go for it.
So 4 months ago, when I had my last doctor's appointment, my A1C was up around 7.6, solidly in dangerous territory.
What's A1C?
You tell us what A1C is.
It's a 2 to 3 month reading of your blood glucose, which, if high, indicates you're either pre-diabetic or already diabetic.
Okay.
So it turns out in the general population, the guidance that I've been learning is that for the entire population, if you average 6.5 as A1C number for the population, then you consider yourself to have a reasonably healthy population. In fact, that's the target for, they quote, young adults. For, they say, middle-aged adults, A1C should be below 7. And for older adults, it should be below 7.5. So I was already in dangerous territory at 7.6 4 months ago.
Wow.
So my research said, hey, maybe I have to like prick my finger every day. And I looked into that, and that's just, not a pleasant experience. So I looked into these things called continuous glucose monitors. And that
Yeah.
field is advancing very, very quickly. So I got one of these about 5 weeks ago because my doctor had to prescribe one, and that doesn't cover the cost of it. It only covers 50% the cost of it. So it's still kind of expensive.
How much is it?
Retail, it's about $70, $72 per unit, and that lasts 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. So a month would be about 140 something. Yeah.
$150 a month.
Yeah. So I saved now 50% on that because my insurance covers it because I've been prescribed this device. But it's amazing that once you get this device, and it comes with an app that tells you your minute by minute blood sugar, all of a sudden, as a geek, I'm looking at this data. Okay, it's data driven. Okay. So I'm now saying, oh, well, it's up around here. I better not have this. I better wait till it comes down here. Then I'll have that. So anyway, after about 5 weeks, which is not even the entire 2 or 3 month cycle of A1C, last Monday, I went in to get tested, and my A1C is down to 6.3.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So,
Do you know which foods are the ones that spike it?
oh yeah, I've been doing a lot of experiments on myself, So
So
in
the
fact,
summary.
things like sugar-free Jello, I don't know what else is in there, but at least it doesn't have sugar in it. Okay.
So basically, sugarless foods are your
Spiker.
option of choice.
And then whole wheat, not just multi-grain, but there has to be whole grain breads are way healthier than the crushed up kind. And turns out all fruits are reasonably good. You would think that fruits have a lot of fruit sugar, fructose. Turns out the complexity makes the blood glucose rise over time. It's very gentle. So fruits are actually good. You're supposed to have 4 fruits per day. And rice really shoots up my A1C. I was sad to hear that because I'm Asian, okay? But rice really shoots up my A1C.
Is there
So
a variety
anyway,
of rice or a rice alternative that's better?
Yeah, but they don't taste very good.
Brown rice?
So
Well,
basically,
anyway, I was
then
just telling you, Barry, technology is interesting. It evolves, and if you pay attention to the technology and then modify your habits and living, etc., according to this information, which heretofore wasn't easy to get, and it's not free, but if you can, afford that device, it made a huge difference. I mean, she was just hoping they would get back down to about 7.2 or 7.3
yeah.
in 4 months. So the fact that it went down to 6.3 was actually quite astonishing to her.
So that means you're going to live to be 107?
No, I mean, I still have to do other things about blood pressure, about cholesterol, everything else. But at least on this front, I'm doing something that seems to make sense. It's just, if you just give a geek a lot of data, I believe you're a geek, Barry.
I am. I'm a nerd.
If you give
I'm
a
a
geek a
nerd.
lot of data, they're going to look at that data. They're going to look at the trends. They're going to look at, experimentation and say, what makes the peak go up? What makes the trough go down? What make it, go sideways? There's a lot of self-experimentation that I've been doing. And I'm really surprised how effective it is just to have that data. So
You're
anyway,
not eating duck eggs
that
anymore.
was just a little aside that I just wanted to share.
On the rice, you can mix them. You don't have to use 100% rice. You can mix them like 30% rice or 40% rice and the rest of the whole grain or whatever. Just to let you know, that's what we do.
No more duck eggs for you, sir.
We don't have any more ducks at the moment.
That's why no more duck eggs.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, medical advances are going to be this way for just about everything, right? It'll be
Yeah.
about cholesterol. It'll be about blood pressure. It is about blood glucose. It'll be about
Kurzweil is big on living
Uric acid.
forever.
So if all of that can help you change your habits early before these problems get severe, then, you know, good things might happen. Of course, you have to still not step in front of buses and trains, but you know.
Yeah, or drive with bad vision at night in the rain.
All this can be fixed. It's all can be reversed. The thing that I think the
Self-driving
scariest,
cars.
I need my night vision fixed.
yeah. I think the scariest question would be now we come to a time that immortality is no longer an issue. It's like you can live forever. Then the question is, when the hell are you ready to go?
Well, when life gets boring, which I don't know, I think life gets boring as you age. You've seen it all before. Been there, got the t-shirts. It's nothing thrilling anymore.
That's how you decided it's time to go.
Well, that's one of the factors, certainly.
Is that the only determining? I'm looking for the determining factor. Or
I don't know which
what are the checklists that you say? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay,
I
time
think
to go.
physical disability, suffering, and pain are probably. I mean, if you're in chronic pain and suffering and miserable, that's a pretty dominating factor.
I don't think again medical advancement will take care of that. You won't feel pain at all because you implant something in your head that's like take away the pain.
Well, yeah, you can take drugs that send you to la la land. There
Yeah,
are plenty of drugs that send you to la la, but they also kill you, those same drugs.
yeah.
Fentanyl and whatever they are.
But that's not with the drug. But I'm saying with the technology can implant something that will take away the pain. I mean, pain is just when the nerve sending the signal. When the signal is block or destroy or dissolve or whatever, counteract or whatever. It's like I'm thinking of it like, you know, what do you call that? The headset that allow you to what do you call that? Noise cancellation. Yeah, noise cancellation, pain cancellation, nerve.
Yeah, but then you can damage your body and not realize you're physically damaging your body. That's the whole point of pain is to stop damaging your body.
I agree, but I say remember the pain is temporary while it's healing. When it's the heal has occurred, the pain will go away.
Yeah.
Here's another criteria. It's when your neighbors say it's time to go.
My neighbors have said that forever.
Good. You know how to stand up to them then.
Well,
the other-
the way I stand up to them is I write song parodies about them, which is why they don't like me. But then, you know, the famous female artists allegedly write song parodies in which they name their exes, first and last name.
Like Taylor, right?
Taylor is one. I think Katy Perry. I could be mistaken. I think a fair number of them. Carly Simon, famously. Well, she didn't name
It
them.
was the original, right?
She was the most famous because she didn't name who it was, so it's speculation. But a lot of them don't try to hide who they're writing about.
Aretha Franklin, R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
But who was she writing about?
I'm sure there's somebody.
I mean, isn't Kanye West one of the ones that they write about?
I don't want to hear his name. Anyway, thank you for entertaining my questions. I'm about shot as far as questions for today. I'll go into
Okay.
listen mode.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited about the custom GDP that you can create. I'm going to spend more time onto it so that I can have a few of the custom GDP.
I would like to see somebody that I know provide a text description to a movie that we can then watch on YouTube to see how good it is, where you really know who's doing the prompting.
Actually, I have another use case there too. I have a very, very, in my opinion, one of my favorite series of science fiction books has never been made into a movie. And now with Sora, I'd love to see a movie based on that series. and see how well Sora does it.
Which series? Harlan Ellison wrote science fiction that was so imaginative, fantastical, that it'd be hard. You'd have to do it with animation. You couldn't do it with actors.
Remind me what he wrote. Was he the Stainless Steel Rat, or was that somebody else?
I don't know the titles, but he called himself not science fiction, but fantasy. He called it fantasy fiction. And he was on one of the NPR interview shows, and he told the host not to refer to him as a science fiction writer, but only as fantasy fiction. And during one of the breaks, the host slipped up and said science fiction, and Harlan Ellison got up and stormed out of the room. And he had to finish the second half of the show without his guest. He doesn't write science fiction, he writes fantasy fiction. I think Harlan Ellison died a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he wrote weird stuff.
For example,
Well, I mean, the thing is that his imagination was so imaginative that you couldn't reinstantiate it with human actors. You'd have to do it with animation, like sort of Disney-like animation or something. There are some people who drew pictures, who drew drawings of his concepts, and they're very surreal.
Well, Goodreads, oh man, I've got like 1,000 entries here for Harlan Ellison. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, Dangerous Visions, Deathbird Stories, Repent, Harlequin, Shatter Day, Strange Wine, The Beast That Shouted Love at the Heart of the World, Angry Candy, Yeah, he's quite prolific.
Yeah, he wrote a lot, but
I didn't realize that prolific.
yeah. But yeah, I can imagine, CGI movies where it's very otherworldly stuff. I mean, almost all the science fiction that's done in movies, the aliens are clearly humanoid in shape, just with prosthetic faces and all.
The Boy and the Dog.
That's the famous one that got turned into a movie. Remember that one?
I think I remember, but I'm not sure.
Do you know who was the famous actor in that movie?
Who?
He was one of the guys that starred in Miami Vice. I think it was Don Johnson. It was the guy that starred in A Boy and His Dog.
Was the dog a real dog? I mean, in the movie,
At that time, they didn't have the technology to make
animated dogs,
CGI dogs.
CGI dogs. Yeah.
That's a classic, actually. There's a twist at the ending.
He was a strange character, Harlan Ellison. Not an easy guy to interview.
Robert Silverberg, another one.
The I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream reminds me of a scene, I think it was in the Matrix movie where the guy has his lips sewn shut. Wasn't there a scene in Matrix like that?
I didn't read
The movie where Neo, I think there's a scene where Neo has his lips sewn shut, and it's kind of a startling, macabre scene.
Well, gentlemen, I am all asked out for today.
All righty, well, good enough then.
Unfortunately, last night, I think I ate some 2 or 3 week old Indian food, and it really caught up to me. So I was groaning and moaning all last night. So I'm barely able to drag myself to this session this morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Friday nights are tough for me. D&D on Friday night, we eat so much unhealthy food or too much of the wrong kind of food, and I sleep so terribly Friday night, and then Saturday I'm just la-la because I didn't get a normal night's sleep.
Well, that was a Saturday night, so hopefully we're want better.
Yeah, well, you're doing much
I'll
better.
take care of this stomach. I'm gonna put something in it.
Yeah. I napped a lot yesterday because I didn't sleep well Friday night. And Joshua's back from his sojourn.
Making waffles.
Outdoors? You're making waffles outdoors?
No, they have one of those breakfast areas where you cook your own waffle. So
Oh,
I had to get it before it closed.
I
Yep.
see.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm making waffles, charging an electric car. What future? I don't know what future we're living in. So
Uh,
it's
Wireless
pretty
charging.
amazing.
we're living,
Wireless charging, remote charging. Your car just park anywhere you want to park and it will charge it for you automatically wirelessly.
yeah, using the sunlight to charge it, right?
How about wireless waffle makers and wireless charging? That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Tesla, well, Tesla ought to, by definition, Tesla ought to have a wireless charger.
Yeah.
They did invest in some of those companies, and I know Bosch is investing in that, so it's coming for sure.
But how much sunlight do you get on the area surface of a car that you could actually charge it in 4 hours? I don't think you could get enough sunlight.
Oh no, when he says wireless, he means like the wireless for your phones, like the mag charger,
Yeah.
like a giant
Oh, I
parking
see.
spot that you drive over.
You have to park like your iPhone watch, you have to put it over the magnetic charger.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
And the iPhone will
it's
charge in
something.
2 hours. This will charge in 2 hours over the mag charger.
Yeah, I
Scott,
stay away from
yeah.
my charger. This doesn't cut it for me. Take too long.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's supposedly a new battery in the laboratory that charges in 5 minutes, but I only saw the headline. I didn't see the story.
Yeah. Well,
You know what that's made out of? What is?
Like I say, there was a headline. I don't know if I can find the headline, but Sabina Hassenfelder actually has a video about it. I saw the headline, but I didn't see the video yet. I don't think they're terribly efficient, though. I mean, if you're charging in 5 minutes, you probably end up saturating a lot of energy that doesn't get into the battery.
I'm surprised to learn that, when the big storm was coming about a month and a half ago, my 36 panel solar panel was only able to charge, one, the power wall instead of three. Only 30% of the power wall get charged for the whole day of sunlight. Like what? Not much sunlight at all.
Is it because of the time of year?
Yeah, winter time is like, oh, sucks. I mean,
Yeah, low sun angle.
Yeah,
Low sun
yeah,
angle.
exactly. That angle really makes a difference. I've been playing around with it in the backyard.
yeah,
If I hit it just the right angle,
yeah.
it goes up 30%, 40%.
Yeah, so anyway, I hired somebody to clean up the panel finally after 12 years of not cleaning. So it's like, sis, how dirty could that be?
Oh, it was a dirty panel. Interesting. Okay.
Well, we'll see how it goes better. We'll see how the next time when they have a storm and see if they go up the percentage wise. So like, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's like, this is a 3-story
that
house, right? 3-story house. I mean, so up there, nothing get dirty. It's like, how dirty could that be? The wind is blowing and all that stuff. So anyway, he sent me some pictures. Like, okay, I see what it is now.
Well,
But you said it still did 40%? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Barry.
I was going to say your automobile windshield gets dirty if you don't wash it. So
Yeah, but because there's a lot of dust going up. The dust doesn't go up that high, right?
but it comes down with the rain brings the dust down with it.
Yeah.
The rain nucleates, well, the ice that turns into rain nucleates around the dust.
Yeah. Anyway, after he cleaned it, the first day, the charging went up from 33% to 85%. I say, okay, good. Now
That's a lot of grit.
So I told him that he come back every year or every 6 months or whatever to clean it now. I do know, like in India and all the solar farm, they have a sprinkler system that go around to clean every single panel every day
Oh, wow.
to maximize
The
Are
time
you on a freeway, Sam?
Say again.
Oh, I was asking if you live near a freeway.
I'm about 4 blocks from the freeway.
Oh, that's a lot. That's close.
Yeah. So I've noticed that I used to live about 4 blocks from the freeway in Los Angeles, and the brake dust is accumulates quite a bit from the trucks.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
So it's if you do clean the panel yourself, look and see those particles, and if you see that black kind of brake dust,
Mm.
that can do it.
Is that asbestos dust?
Whatever's, when the trucks are coming into the city and they're, they got to stop.
I could be wrong. I think maybe they don't anymore. They used to make brake shoes out of asbestos. Maybe they don't anymore.
Mm. I
That's a
don't
good
think we are allowed
question.
to do.
Yeah, what are they making brake pads? I think, and that's what I heard too, Barry.
You can ask ChatGPT if they still use asbestos to make brake shoes. Let's see. Do I have a ChatGPT available here?
That's actually one of my biggest proponents for electric cars is not like just the PM2 particles in the gasoline, but the brake pads and the all the extra things that you don't really think about.
Well, with the Tesla, you don't have to think about brake pad because you never use your brake pad. Almost, I'll use my brake pad like maybe once a week.
They
Yeah,
used
that's
to
why
be,
I bought that car. That was my favorite part, is not having to hit the brakes.
they
Yeah,
used to be made out of asbestos, no longer in modern vehicles, according to Gemini, which is Bard. What are they made out of today? Alternative materials. It doesn't say non-metallic, semi-metallic. Doesn't actually say what they're made out of today. They're just not made out of asbestos anymore.
Yeah, I doubt that would make asbestos because that's poisonous.
It's actually banned. In
Yeah,
the US, the use of asbestos in brake components is now banned.
yeah.
Ceramic, organic, semi-metallic compounds, but beyond that, it doesn't say. Because asbestos dust was carcinogenic, so that's why they banned it.
So
Yep.
Barry, I'm thinking about create a custom GDP for you because I don't think you have that. I can create it. So what will be a custom GDP for you that with your name on it? What would it look like
Well,
and what's it do?
So as you know, I almost never record a YouTube video with my own material.
Right.
I write blog posts, but I almost never orally present the material. But if there were a cartoon animation of me that was much more photogenic and had a better, announcing voice, and was presenting my material, I would consider publishing that as a synthetic presenter that kind of looks like me and kind of sounds like me, but is much more photogenic and charismatic. I would consider, producing videos of my own work. But the few times that I've been recorded presenting, it's not going to win any Academy Awards or Emmys or anything.
Mm. I think that's only 30% of the whole thing. I think there's a lot of animation needed, a lot of graphical presentation
Exactly.
needed, and
Yeah.
and such
Yeah.
that.
First of all, if I show my slides are just fixed images. They're not
Right.
and they tend to be sort of mathematically constructed images.
Right.
So the kind of stuff that I produce is not engaging, intriguing, entertaining, or fascinating. It's academic. A lot of academic stuff is dull and boring, unless you're a specialist in the field.
If you look at all the video, the people that make it famous and have a lot of hits are the one that explain complicated subject into very easy to understand language.
Sabina Hassenfelder. Sabina Hassenfelder is one of the best. There's a handful of them, half a dozen on YouTube who are very good presenters. The guy who does, what's his name? top of my head, I won't remember all their names, but there's a handful of them who were first rate.
Yeah. So all you do is take your material and let ChatGPT, dumb it down to 10-year-old language or something like that.
Yeah. So I would love for somebody who's a very good presenter to figure out how to present some of my material, because it's gonna basically fade into obscurity, if it hasn't already.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I think it has kind of faded to obscurity
Yeah.
just because of
No,
the
a lot of
last,
it's 20 years old. Sort of the
yeah.
last really important stuff that I published is about 20 years old.
Well, I think, are you familiar, Barry, with the Music Genome Project?
Music Genome, not by that name.
It was what created Pandora, the
Yeah, I
radio
figured that's what
station
you're
app.
talking about. Yeah, that if you like certain pieces of music, all the others that are of a comparable genre, you'd also probably like. Yeah,
Yeah, and the
that's the suggestion
mathematics of
for you.
the mathematics of the analogy of DNA in music and how they weighted the structure. It's a very interesting case study to look at of the weighting
Yeah.
of what they did to create that music genome project. Even just calling it genome to relate it to DNA. How do you find the DNA of a song? And
Exactly.
what weights do you use for that? So I'm saying in affective computing, if you could come up with a learning quotient, I'm just trying to keep your work relevant with the new algorithms coming in, a learning quotient of what oh, I heard somebody.
There's somebody walking behind you.
No, there was, but they weren't saying anything.
There's an interesting story. There's a country and Western music station that said they don't play Beyonce's music because she's not country and Western, except that she released a country and Western number recently, and
Right.
they didn't realize it, so they weren't playing it. And finally, somebody called them on this. We don't play Beyonce, and they said, "Oh, you're right. She now has a country and Western item. Yeah, we can play that." But they couldn't realize, they didn't realize that it was their genre.
I don't want to take you too far into the music as much as the way they calculated the quote unquote DNA of a song.
It's pattern.
So
Somehow or another is pattern recognition.
yeah, we can look it up together, but I'm saying you can look it up. It's a weight aspect of this amount of this particular subset ontologically of this sonic vibrational sound,
Right.
the genre,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. There's all these weights, but could you do something like that in the DNA of learning material according to your paper on affective learning?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can look at, people say short sentences, limited vocabulary,
Yep.
and lots of visual aids, which are not complicated visual aids. And I will admit that most of my material doesn't fit those criteria. I use long, compound complex sentences with polysyllabic words and a 20,000 word vocabulary. And the visuals are rather arcane and technical. And that's why I don't have a big audience.
Yeah, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is the Berry Court affective weighting system of whether or not the learning was proper. If you could run these different science communicators and then maybe possibly do it for lectures, blah, blah, blah. If you could get your weighting system as an analysis for transformers to decide if it was giving you a happy feeling, if it was giving you a confused, vexed, and perplexed.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Is it fascinating? Is it amusing? Is it engaging? And it's easy to not be those things. It's much easier to not be those things than to be those things.
Yeah, maybe we can talk at another time, because I would like to focus on there's a company, JD Power and Associates, that did this for cars.
Yeah.
Back in I think in the 90s. Do you know about this?
Yeah, what makes a car sellable? Yeah.
Yeah, it was an arbitrary thing that they just stamped their name onto, and it became the standard because they bought a Super Bowl ad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sporty, you know, people like sporty looking cars, you know, sporty colors and sporty so you know your boxy beige cars are not going to sell.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, if you not that you want to monetize it. I mean, I can think of many ways to do that, but I'm saying if in the educational system they ran it through the Berry Court weighting system of that lesson plan, of that curriculum, and did it give you the ability to be in the state where you can receive the information? Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. Did it? Let's run it through the system and see if that person
Yeah,
did that lecture.
you'd have to take the feedback from the audience to say what elements of the presentation triggered the positive response from the audience. And then
Right.
can you predict the audience response from an undisclosed presentation, and then try it with a real audience and see if you got the right model. Yeah, you could do that. I don't know how
I
much.
Yeah, I'm
believe
saying if you could go ahead, Sam.
I believe that the current, the ChatGDP now has you can create your own GDP now, and I did about 3 of them last night, and I believe that everything you needed, Barry, is there already.
Oh, I don't doubt that things are there, but they also can be relatively costly, inaccessible, or a pain in the ass to implement.
So I'll work with you later on today. Maybe I'll ask you a question, and then if you prompt me back the answer, then I can put it in there for you, and then we'll see if I can. I'm using my account to create your own ChatGDP and see how far can it go. I was amazed at how far he asked you the problem you want to make, what kind of mode you're talking about. And for example, I created one that I will ask question to clarify something before I would answer answer them or something along the line.
It's easy to imagine that somebody else who's very charismatic presenter but also knowledgeable could present my material a whole lot better than I can. A lot of scientific material, the person who created the science is not the best presenter. Very often the best presenter is somebody who didn't create it, but they
I agree.
absorbed it from the original.
That's why you use text interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is the old paradigm was you have to present your ideas to get them adopted.
Yeah. Somebody has to present it.
Someone has to present it, and then it takes time for that adoption to understand, and then for someone to build around that idea of thinking into a practical utilized methodology and some sort of way of getting the feedback from the audience, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm trying to say is just skip over all the things and assume that everyone wants it, and then start building with the multimodal AI technology of a feedback recursive loop between the AI presenter and the audience's feedback using the mathematics of your method. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I mean, if you look at presenters like Socrates or Frege or Kripke, they had a very small actual audience in their own time.
Right, but you're stuck with what they had. I'm saying you could have 4,000 people, you could have 4 people. It's the fact that you can build an AI of Kripke, an AI of Socrates, but using the evaluation of your mathematical weighting system in real time as the person is listening.
Yeah.
You can even watch the eye movements, the brain wave patterns. You could do some really amazing work, I'm saying, that's really relevant at this moment in time of how educational companies, systems, academic institutions are using the mathematics of your system without even having to present it to them. You could present an actual working, functional feedback loop.
Models of audience reaction without the actual audience. I mean, Plato, if it wasn't for Plato, nobody would have heard of Socrates. It was thanks to Plato that, that we have some record of Socrates that's intriguing enough for people to read.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't Socrates giving a lecture. It was Socrates having a conversation with some imaginary correspondent.
Well, the same thing can be happening here, not because of Joshua. Nobody will heard of Barry Court,
But so a lot of people are well known because some interviewer interviewed them and recorded the interview. And they asked good questions, they got good answers, and they were in question and response mode. And it was the question and response mode that made it palatable, digestible, whereas if it had been a lecture, it wouldn't have worked.
Yep,
Mhm.
agree.
I apologize. I
Peter.
have to go.
Oh.
I have to go grab the car, get the kid. I'm going to be traveling here next week at the same place. So I
Okay.
might not be able to make Saturday, but if 2 Saturdays from now, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after,
Yeah.
I can put it on the docket for this. I would really much like to see what multimodal abilities are baked into ChatGPT at the moment.
Yeah.
To create that feedback loop. When you said, Sam, what ChatGPT would we create for Barry? Let's see if we can create one. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yep.
Clearly, I've done my best, and it hasn't been a big hit. I'm sure other people could do much better with it than I have.
Yeah, but finding the right tool and have the knowledge and make use of the tool, inappropriately it's like medicine. You need a doctor to prescribe it, and you need a patient to use it. You have to have 3 things. The magical number 3.
Yeah,
Have
right.
Barry, have the right tool, and somebody else like Josh.
Yeah. I mean, I know that my work has value. I just don't know how to present it in a way that's palatable for the larger audience.
It's coming.
I can reach a narrow audience,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to reach a wide audience.
Yeah, don't worry. It's coming. It's coming so fast. I have no idea. It's like,
Yeah. I'm sure that if anybody of talent picks up my work, they could present it a whole lot better than me.
yeah, again, I remember you told me about the club that you went to do presentation. You told me about this, like the first meeting that we had. I watched the video 3 times.
Oh, you did? Okay. Because
Yeah.
the first time I presented my work in a conference, which was in 2001, we won the Best Theory Paper Award. But the
Yeah.
award was not for the best presentation, so for the best paper.
Right.
It was judged on the paper, not the physical presentation at the
Yeah.
conference.
For me, that's more important than the presentation, because you can work on presentation later, but you
Yeah.
cannot work on the paper later.
On the other hand, one time I presented the same paper at a conference in Boston. One person came up afterwards and said that was the best presentation ever in this conference.
Yeah.
But one
Because-
person.
Because he's looking for the material. He judged you based on material, not
Yeah.
based on presentation.
And this was a public school teacher who had been attending this conference for a decade.
Yeah, because he's looking for an answer, and you give him the answer he was looking for.
Exactly. So I know that the material has value. I just don't know how to package it for the
Right.
general audience.
What was the link that you have all your blog and all that stuff into one place? I forgot. I tried to find the link again. I couldn't find it.
The one on burnt umbrage, maybe?
Yeah. Well, the more link you can give me right now, the more I will have it. I'm going to go
Oh.
through them and see if I can figure out a way. Because right now you can, again, the custom tools creation is amazingly advanced now.
I'll give you one to try. Let's see, I gotta get back to this one. No, it gotta be over here. You can try this link here. And also on the left panel, and the left panel is a bunch of stuff, and on the right panel is
Got
just
it.
one thingy. I'm not sure which was the best one to look at.
That's good. Thank you.
The thing is there's enough material, you could easily fill up a semester with material, but it would be an eclectic collection. It wouldn't be sort of one continuous story. It would be an anthology of pieces that you could easily fill a semester.
I need to rename your book back, otherwise I will forget.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if I had an editor, an editor would completely repackage everything that I've done, because it's not the way an editor would have elected to package it.
Again, that's why I encourage you to use more GDP to Gemini to to get you closer to what you need to be.
Well, a couple of months ago, Stacy suggested asking ChatGPT to write a fairy tale on some topic, taking some academic material and mapping it into a fairy tale. And we were both kind of surprised how good it was.
Yeah.
But I could never have written that fairy tale. That's so far beyond my, modality.
See, for the tools to write a fairy tale is easy for the tool, but the key concept that you want to make sure that the structure of the fairy tale is teaching what it's supposed to be teaching. That's the hardest part.
That's the problem, is that you end up, a lot of times a science journalist will take a piece of scientific publication and they'll map it into a story for the general public, but they'll lose the science.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's easy to lose the science.
Yeah.
And if it's mathematics, it's really easy to lose the math.
That's right. That's right.
And most of my work, the core of it is mathematics. And if you lose the math, what do you got left?
Yeah, so when I teach a class, I'm very careful about constructing my metaphor. If my metaphor is constructed wrong, then you miss the whole teaching altogether.
Exactly. I mean, it's one thing to say that emotions are connected to learning. That's pretty obvious, but say, what's the connection? If the connection is mathematical, what's the mathematics of the connection? If you say, well, it's the second derivative of the learning curve, you've already lost 95% of your audience.
That's right. Maybe 99%, depending.
Maybe 99%. Even the ones who have calculus probably don't get what you're saying.
Well, if you talk to kindergarten, you lose 100% of them.
Well, that's for sure, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know that the ideas are all that arcane. They're just hard to put into a narrative. I mean, Umberto Eco has this famous quote. He says, how does it go? If you can't express a theory, then you have to translate it into a narrative instead. And a lot of theories, which are expressed in the language of theory, go no place until somebody maps them into a narrative.
So what's the difference and make the difference between the theory and the narrative?
It's the language in which it's expressed. So most people will attend stories.
What would be what would be a number one on top of your list that would be an excellent example of someone to have a great narrative for a theory? What would that be?
Well, for example, the creation of the universe. Everybody knows the biblical class narratives, the creation stories, and almost nobody understands the mathematics of the Big Bang Theory.
But that's terrible. I'm looking for someone that have a great theory and have a wonderful, the top of the notch, the best example of the narrative that explain the theory perfectly. Who'd have done that in the past?
So I mean, if
nobody ever done it, then it's impossible. How's that?
Well, the most famous narrative, which purports to be a scientific narrative, is Darwin's theory.
Okay.
Darwin's theory of evolution is a narrative that comes out of his theory, but his theory isn't mathematical. There is no mathematics in Darwin's theory. It's all narrative anyway. And the ones that are mathematical, you don't get much in the way of narratives. If you go back to Darwin, you say, what's the underlying mathematics of Darwin's theory of evolution? There are modern mathematics for evolution, but they're so arcane. Like Stanislaw Ulam from Los Alamos actually came up with some of the mathematics for Darwinian evolution. He came up with molecular biology, is it? There's a mathematics of molecular biology, which is so arcane that almost nobody has ever heard of it. But they've all heard of Darwin's theory of evolution because it's a story. And it's controversial. It's controversial because it is a story. If you present the mathematics, it's never controversial because nobody knows what it says.
I'm looking for a different perspective. I was challenged that if Darwin's would give a different story for the different narrative, nobody would know it because he's giving a nature. Everybody experience nature. Everybody know how nature works, and that nature map what the way the belief about nature, how it works, and the mapping and all that is all very close to what Darwin's theory narrative is. And because the difference is so little bit, so the game theory is that if you know 70%, if you win 70% of the time, the game become a good game for you. So another way of saying is that because people know nature so well that to understand narrative from Darwin is such a simple, small step.
The thing is that people know what's living today, humans and animals and plants, but they don't know how evolution, if you say, how did we get from one-celled creatures in the sea to humans, people couldn't begin to tell you how that happened. In fact, the popular story is God created humans, like Zeus, from.
Yeah.
So the notion of evolution from one-celled creatures to mammals, there is no, Darwin says it's a gradual evolution, but that doesn't tell you much of anything. It just says that if you go back 5 billion years and you look at, 1 billion steps, you'll get there. The average person doesn't get that. They would rather have a Bible story that God created Adam and Eve out of the clay soil.
Another way of thinking about it also is that how people can only remember 3 facts together.
Yeah.
God created the world. Okay, so I can handle that. Anything more than that, I cannot handle. Right.
So people could understand. They could attend to Darwin's theory. They could listen to it, understand what it says, and then claim it's baloney. They could claim they don't believe it. Now,
because it's too complicated. Remember about deception? You have to believe it because why? Because it's easy enough. I call it. What's the difference between the beef in the grocery shop versus the beef on the dinner plate that on a 5-star restaurant? Because it's chewable, digestible.
If I tell you that in the core of a star, when a star goes supernova, it creates the heavy elements, and the heavy elements gradually create complicated molecules, and the complicated molecules eventually create chemistry and biochemistry and living systems. And if I tell you that story of chemistry and nuclear fusion, you've lost everything. They can't argue against it because they don't understand it.
That's right.
It's too arcane. So 1% of the population could attend to the theory of nuclear physics and chemistry and biochemistry, but everybody can attend to Darwin's theory because it's a story.
So going back to the word knowledge, they know, but they cannot reach the edge, so they don't have the knowledge.
Yeah, the quote from Umberto Eco was, "Whereof we cannot express a theory, we must narrate a story instead." Well, the point is that even if you can express a theory, but the expression of the theory is E equals MC square, then everybody has seen E equals MC square. Very few people can say what it really says and what it means.
I mean, what's the narrative for E equals to MC square?
There isn't one. Really isn't one. So, Twilight Zone used to show E equals MC square as part of the logo of the show, and you can memorize it because it's only 4 symbols. But what it says, what does equal MC square say? There really isn't a classical narrative for equals MC square, even though people have seen it. And if you try to do not equal MC square, but the theory of relativity, the mathematics, the formula for theory of relativity is just, it's gibberish. Or even Maxwell's equations, it's gibberish.
I think I like to skip the understanding part. I'm more interested in the application part. For example, E equals MC square, I don't care what it means. All I care is how could I use it, apply it in my daily life.
They know that the atomic bomb, which is real, is based on equals MC square. They know there's a connection.
But that's not everyday's life. Atomic bomb is way, way, way beyond my...
You can say mushroom cloud, and most people will know that a mushroom cloud is what it looks like when they did the atomic bomb test in the 1950s. And they know that the atomic bomb blew up a couple cities in Japan. you know, and beyond that, it's, you know, it's not an everyday thing. People don't see atomic bombs going off in their real life. If they did, they're dead.
So understanding the theory, understanding the narrative is one level, and be able to use it in the daily life, benefited from it, create value of it, is a different level.
You can drive an automobile and you say, what's the basis of an internal combustion engine? The average person can't tell you what's an internal combustion engine. They can say, you know, you can drive an automobile.
Yeah.
When television came out, they referred to it as the magic of television. And you could turn on your TV set and see somebody on the screen say, thanks to the magic of television, we now bring you ABC's Wide World of Sports. It was the magic of television. It was magic. That's all it was. It was magic. It was called the magic of television, not Philo Farnsworth's complicated system of this and that and the other thing. It was just the magic of television.
So from my perspective, what I just hear is that forget about narrative, forget about theory. If you make a damn product out of it, people can use it every day, you benefit the world.
You can sell an iPhone or a wristwatch or a radio, and people will buy it, and a toaster, and a microwave oven, and they haven't a clue what's the underlying science and physics or engineering. They don't care about the engineering. They just want to know, I can, for an affordable amount of money, I can buy a toaster that makes toast. How
So
does
it's like so you cannot sell. This is the way they say in Silicon Valley. You cannot sell a technology, but you can sell a productization of the technology.
Right. And people will refer to it as the magic of, you know, products.
So what product can you create out of your Barry's theory?
An educational presentation that works.
Okay, so how do you productize it?
Well, on YouTube, if you go onto YouTube, you'll find a modest number of educational presentations that work. A modest number.
What's the difference that makes difference that works and doesn't work? How does that sound?
So do you know who Hank Green is? Does that name ring a bell? Hank Green or PBS Digital?
I heard of him, yeah.
So PBS Digital, Public Broadcasting System, PBS, created a spinoff called PBS Digital to make educational videos on YouTube.
Okay.
And Hank Green was one of the presenters that hosted some of the series. He wasn't the only one, but he was one of the best. If you go onto PBS Digital on YouTube and you look for what's it called? They're called crash courses. He did a whole series. He and others did a series called Crash Course on, and then you take your classical subjects, a crash course on science and chemistry and physics and mathematics or whatever. And if you look at any Hank Green crash course on subject matter on PBS Digital, you'll see some of the best. There's a couple of others. There's a guy who, trying to remember the name of his series.
PBS Digital. I'm typing into my Google.
Yeah, there's a handful of presenters on YouTube. Veritasium, the one called Veritasium. Matt, what's his name? Forgetting his name now. The guy who does it. There's 3 blue and 1 brown. The guy who does math. There's 2 or 3 who do math. Handful who do physics or astrology, astronomy, cosmology. They're just a handful of superstars.
Got it.
And they do very good presentations, which are intriguing. They're the right length. You know, they reach a lot of people. They're informative.
How's that related to your theory?
None of them present my work.
Okay.
None of them. And I've even suggested to Grant Sanderson. Grant Sanderson does the mathematics ones. I said to Grant, I said, if anybody could present my work, you could. He never even acknowledged the suggestion.
You know he received your message?
Well, it was a comment in one of his videos, or more than one of his videos. So I don't know how. I mean, a lot of these people, they can't read all the comments because there's too many of them, or they might read them and, you know, not follow up.
Maybe you need to ask them 5 times or make comment 10 times.
Maybe, yeah, maybe if I was more persistent, eventually they would look into it. It's
Yeah.
also possible he looked into it and thought to himself, this is beyond the level that he could present.
Understood.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, they do take on some pretty hard ones. They've taken on Riemann's hypothesis, which is really hard to present, and he's done it. He's taken on all kinds of stuff that I would have thought would be hard to present.
What's one presentation that they did that's very close to what you are trying to present?
So when COVID hit, there was a mathematical model of plagues and contagions. There was a nice I think it was called the SARS model. I forget the name of it, but he did so Grant Sanderson did 2 or 3 videos on the mathematical models of contagion, where you've been exposed, where you're contagious, where you've passed it on, or where you're immune. And there's a nice mathematical model of disease, how diseases spread. And it's a model that's been in the literature for decades, and he did a nice presentation on it, I thought. Now, on the other hand, I'm not a standard audience member. When I saw it, I thought that's a very nice presentation of a difficult mathematical model for the average person to appreciate. And he'll do that. He'll do mathematical presentations with animations and stuff.
So if you can present something that's complicated, so presenting your case should not be difficult, and from my perspective. So what if you write out a script that you think can present it based on your way, or using them as
maybe if ChatGPT writes out a script, because I'm not a script writer.
So once you write out the prompt, or you can get ChatGPT to write out a script using that model and using your theory instead of, I'm saying extract the model, the pattern that they're using, and stick your theory into it.
I'll tell you this. I went on to ChatGPT, and by asking questions, I got ChatGPT to construct my theory.
Okay.
It constructed my theory in responsive prompts, and those transcripts are up on medium.com or my blog. There, you can go and look at these transcripts where ChatGPT constructed my theory from scratch based on questions that I asked it in Socratic style.
Right, I understand that part. I'm saying that if you can do the same thing with telling them to present it in their way of presenting, right?
Yeah. The question is, can you take those scripts where ChatGPT constructed the model and turn it into a dramatic presentation?
I'm not sure about dramatic, but I'm saying that whatever the digital PBS way of doing things, so like 60 minutes, or just like the 007 James Bond movie, they have a structure. You play with that structure, then you're good to go.
Yeah. So I don't know who wrote the scripts for the crash courses. I think they had a team.
It doesn't matter, but you can get a transcript out of it and copy and paste a transcript. Okay, I want you to use this transcript format.
So you could tell ChatGPT, go and view all the crash courses on PBS Digital.
That's right.
And get the pattern. Okay. Now take this dialogue with ChatGPT constructing the theory and transform it.
Yeah, it's no different. Read a poem, make a song out of it. It makes no difference. Right. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you created that, then you can find out his email and send it to him. Then I'm pretty sure he would take that.
So what would it cost to have ChatGPT digest all of those crash courses on PBS Digital?
I don't think you need a whole crash course. I think you just need the one that you say, the complicated math one. If you want to give me the link.
Okay, so pick one from Grant Sanderson, let's say. Digest the Grant Sanderson example presentation, and then take this one and do the same for it. Maybe you could.
Yeah, that's it. That's the simplest. Keep it simple. So that's why my name is Sam. Simple and manageable.
So ask ChatGPT to digest 1 or 2 Grant Sanderson presentations on some interesting mathematical topic,
right?
And then do the same thing for this one.
Yeah, think of it like a genre, right? What do you call that? Genre?
Genre, yeah.
Genre. It's just like create a genre of Sam Anderson, and I want to sing the song, my song.
It's 10 minutes to 1. Do you want to keep going for 10 minutes or do you want to break?
I'm good. I'm
All right.
good.
Because I'm ready for a bio break anyway after all
Okay,
morning.
all good, all good. I'll see you next week.
Let
Yeah.
me go ahead and save the chats and things here. Let's see, where's that at? Save chat, save transcript. Okay, that's good. Don't know if Free Willy is still in attendance or not, so we
So
can.
send me the link on my private messages. Send me the link of the two episodes that you have done, and then send me the link of the thing. So the 3 things I need from you, and then I'll play with it myself.
All right, I'll dig those up this afternoon.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.